want big change, not little change. I want fundamental change, not change around the edges. And to do that, we're going to have to do more than just change political parties. Think about it. If you don't believe me, how long have we been talking about health care reform? We've been talking about health care reform for ages now, for decades, for too long, through Democratic and Republican administrations. And yet year after year after year, the only thing that changes is more people join the ranks of the uninsured. And people's premiums and co-payments and deductibles keep going up and up and up. Well, why is that? Well, part of it is because the drug companies and the insurance companies spent $1 billion over the last decade preventing reform from happening. They profit from the system as is. And if we want real fundamental change in our healthcare system, then we've got to bring about real and fundamental change in our politics in Washington. The same is true when it comes to energy. We've been talking about our dependency on foreign oil for decades now. Year after year, I went back and looked, Mr. Mayor, way back in 1973. A lot of these folks weren't born yet. There were long lines because of the gas crisis. And every president since that time has said, we are going to wean ourselves off dependence on foreign oil. And the only thing that's happened is what? Gas prices gone up. Profits for ExxonMobil have gone up. Our dependency on foreign oil has gone up. Why is that? Well, it doesn't help when my cousin, Dick Cheney, is put in charge of energy policy. I've been hiding this for a long time. You know, everybody's got a black sheep in the family. Everybody got a crazy uncle in the attic. But I'm not going on that family hunting trip. But Dick Cheney, when he was put in charge of energy policy, he met with the environmental groups once, met with the renewable energy groups once, and then he met with the oil and gas companies 40 times. 40 times. So it's no wonder that our energy policy doesn't work for you. It works for ExxonMobil. And it's not going to change unless we change our politics. That's the reason that I'm running for the presidency of the United States of America. I don't want little change. I want big change. I want to clean the place out. I want to restore the American people front and center in the middle of the agenda. I want to be fighting for the American dream in Washington, D.C. And I need you to do it. You know, it's easier to understand what I'm talking about when you get out of Washington. You know, one of the best trips I've taken on this journey in this campaign was to Oakland, California. I went out there because the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, had organized all of the presidential candidates to spend a day walking in the shoes of one of their members. And so I went out to Oakland, and I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I went over to the house of a 61-year-old home care worker named Pauline Beck. And Ms. Beck was already up. She was fixing breakfast for 2 foster children who she had taken in because they don't have a family of their own. And after she got them ready for school, then we went over to the home of a 86-year-old amputee named John Thornton. And that morning we did what Ms. Beck does every single day, and that is to help Mr. Thornton out of bed, help put on his artificial leg, and change the soiled sheets, and help him put on his clothes, fix him breakfast, and scrub the floors, and do the laundry. When my wife found out I was doing all this, she couldn't believe it. She said, I want to see the video. But listening to this humble woman talk about the hardships of her life, without a trace of self-pity, just glad to be of some service to somebody, just hoping maybe she could get a little more pay to help look after those foster kids. Just hoping that maybe she could get a little more security in her retirement. Hoping that maybe she could get a day off once in a while, just to rest some tired feet. I was reminded of why I got into public service over 2 decades ago as a community organizer, working with steel workers who had been laid off for work. Because there are millions of people all across America, just like Miss Beck. There are millions of them all across North Carolina, working hard every single day, looking after their families, trying to do the right thing. Sometimes have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, may not have health care, still trying to figure out how they're going to send their children to college without a scholarship, doing everything they can to achieve the American dream. And they don't expect government to solve all their problems. They know they've got to work hard. But what they do expect is if they're able and willing to work, they can find a job that pays a living wage. What they do expect is they shouldn't be bankrupt when they get sick. What they do expect is that their children should go to a good school and be able to go to college even if they're not rich. They do expect they should be able to retire with some dignity and some respect. That's what they're looking for. And it's not a lot. And what they are convinced of is that nobody in Washington is listening to them. And so understand this. What is wrong with America has nothing to do with the American people. The American people aren't the problem. The American people are the answer. The problem is that Washington is not listening to you right now. And that's the reason I'm running for the presidency of the United States of America. Because I want your voice to be heard in Washington. I want Miss Beck's voice to be heard in Washington. I want those foster kids' voices to be heard in Washington. You know, when I talk like this sometimes, the folks in Washington, they start rolling their eyes. They say, oh, he's talking about hope again. He's so naive. He's a hope peddler. He's a hope monger. That's all right. I stand guilty as charged. I am optimistic about the American people. In fact, sometimes I think when people say, you know, we're not sure if Obama has been on the national scene long enough to be president, what they really mean is they're not sure I've been in Washington long enough. See, they want me to sit there and stew a little bit. They want to kind of boil all the hope out of me. And I have to remind them, listen, 2 of the longest resumes in Washington were Dick Cheney's and Donald Rumsfeld, and they led us into the biggest foreign policy disaster in a generation. So a long resume doesn't guarantee good judgment. Longevity says nothing about your character. And what we need from the next president is judgment. What we need from the next president is character. Government and character that's forged from the kind of experience that I bring to bear as a community organizer, as a civil rights attorney, as a constitutional law professor, as a state senator, as a United States senator. The experience of bringing people together to get things done.